Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Conscious Club podcast. Today's Family Day, which in Canada is is it a federal holiday? I don't know. At least in Ontario, it's a holiday. So today feels kind of trippy a little bit because it feels like a Sunday, but it's actually a Monday. And I just really want to record a podcast right now. And so here I am. I was finding it interesting though, because like I said, today's a weird day. It feels like a Sunday, so it feels like a weekend, but it's actually a Monday. And there's like aspects of me that are confused because I'm someone that really thrives on routine. As much as I resist limitations and always want to break free of structures, I'm someone who really does thrive on routine. And so my routine is set up so that on the weekends, just usually because Garrett's family, I'm interacting with a lot more people over the weekend when Garrett's family comes over. And then during the week, I have space to myself again, and it's like the weekdays are where my routine and rhythm are pretty stabilized. So today's weird because today would have been a regular work day for me where I spend a lot of time doing creative things and making stuff and writing and interacting with people and things like that. Interacting with people related to my business, so clients and things like that. I don't really like the word client. I just want to put that out there. Maybe I'll come back to it later, but I just said client. I'm like, I don't like that. I'm just getting really, really bored of hierarchy or like grouping people based on, I don't know. I feel like there's some sort of hierarchy present between a client service provider relationship. And anyway, I might come back to that later on in this podcast, maybe not. Back to what I was saying. I was saying that so today would have been like a regular routine day, but because it's a holiday, Garrett's family's still here and it's like thrown me off a little bit. But how that's manifesting is it's like my mind is really excited and wants to record a podcast, but my body is like, it's not time to record a podcast. It's a Sunday. You don't record podcasts. Or it's like, it's a weekend. Like, it's not a creative day. It's a day to just like hang out and, just rest or whatever. But anyway, I was just noticing all this happening within me, and I was like, I don't really care. I don't feel tired, which is usually what I look out for if I'm working on, if I have like a creative idea that comes through and I really want to work on it. One of my first, I have to get permission from my body's energy levels, basically, because I'm someone that also gets burnt out really quickly and have very traumatic experiences from being just like getting burnt out. And anyway, that's just like from hustling too hard and then burning out and then hating whatever I created, things like that kind of a cycle. I've really been focusing on breaking that cycle, and I think I've been doing really good with it. But anyway, I'm saying that because that's one of the things, like my body is totally fine to record this and my mind is on board to record this. So essentially the only thing that was holding me back was this like mental construct. I guess. I don't know. It's not even mental, right? Because parts of my mind are like down. They want to record a podcast. But yeah, I guess just this, I don't even know what to call it. Some force that I don't know how to name right now was stopping me from recording this today because it felt like today's not the right day for it because of like perceptions about weekends and work days versus rest days. And that's actually something that I was talking about with some of the members of my Overflow Mystery School. We had our group call this Sunday, So I host like a group call, and I call it a pouring ceremony. So pouring as in like as if you're pouring water into each other's cups. So we host that every Sunday, and this Sunday this topic actually came up in the call, where just this thing that we do where we say that some days are work days and some days are rest days, and we like compartmentalize rest and work into like the containers of days. And I feel like that works if you're working like a very conventional if you have a lifestyle with like a very conventional work schedule. So if you're working a traditional like 9 to 5 or full-time job, I just feel like that makes sense, because it's like for a full-time job, you're basically going in to work mode, and then you're like working for 8 to 9, 10, sometimes more hours a day. That's basically the meat of your day. And then you have like a little rest session, and then you go to sleep, and then you do it again. And then the weekdays are the rest days, right? Because you don't have to tune into work that day. And so it's like very compartmentalized. And I understand why we think like that, but it's been really important for me as a like solo entrepreneur, or someone that works for myself, someone that sets my own schedule, someone that directs my own creative life and work life and career, is challenging these types of structures that I guess like aspects of ours are just so used to that we don't even think about it, because everyone around us is operating in that way. But like, it's been important for me to challenge it, because sometimes, like for example today, it's like self-sabotaging in a way, because like if I gave into that pattern, I would not be recording this today, because it just felt wrong to record it today, because even though today is a Monday, it actually feels like a Sunday, and because it feels like a weekend and my external reality is reflecting like weekend energy, it made me think that I'm not allowed to, or like that I shouldn't record this podcast, because podcast is categorized under work and like under like the work folder in my mind, and like, you know what I mean? So it's just I think it's really important for us to observe ourselves first of all, to see what programs are running. And like, I feel like for me, I don't really enjoy doing deep dives into my psyche anymore. I think that's what a lot of people seem to recommend, like doing like deep dives into journaling and like asking yourself journaling questions. And I feel like I used to do that a lot more a few years ago, but as I live my life, I'm finding that digging isn't really necessary. It's like the things within my psyche that need to be addressed and dealt with, they will show up on time when they're meant to. I don't need to like dig for them, like they'll come up to the surface as they need to, and right when I have the tools and the things necessary to handle it. But yeah, I think like, first of all, it's really important for us to observe what's happening in our psyche. It's just like noticing, so for today, like noticing in general, I mean, if you can hold your focus and awareness on yourself, that's amazing. And I definitely recommend like getting better at that skill. But also, if you're not someone who's like really well versed in paying attention to your own thoughts and seeing what's happening in your inner world, I think it's become very second nature to me now, because I do so much creative work that where I source the content of that work directly from my thoughts. So when I'm writing, or even now like podcasting, or engaging in my overflow group, like it involves me, where I pull content from is from my brain. And so I guess I've just trained myself to be constantly watching what's happening within me, because it gives me material to work with for my creative projects. So anyway, that was kind of a tangent. But yeah, if you're not someone that is super used to or trained in observing their own thoughts, just notice like a good signal is like when you notice any sort of discomfort in your body. If you notice any sort of discomfort, that is a sign for you to look within and kind of see what's going on. Obviously, I feel like many people in this world are in discomfort more often than they are not. And so it's like very much about peeling back the layers and dealing with what you can deal with at the time and what you have the capacity to deal with at the time. But for someone like me, I've really been working on my inner peace, and that's been like my full-time job since 2017. And so at this point, I can honestly say that I don't discomfort doesn't happen very often for me. I mean, I obviously feel discomfort at various times during the day, but it's not like I'm constantly in discomfort. So at this stage of my internal development, it's actually quite easy for me to notice when I'm in a state of like inner disharmony. And it's like when I feel that, like when I feel anxiety or when I feel just like some sort of tension or discomfort within me, that's the time that I use to like really look within and be like, oh, what is causing this? So in the example for today, I noticed tension. Like I was having a really good day, but I was noticing this like slight tension within me. And oops, let me just, one sec. So, sorry, Luna really likes to be a guard dog. Like that, I mean, she's kind of bred to be a guard dog and also a small prey hunting dog. So, as you can imagine, the two most annoying things, but that we allow because that's like just part of who she is she loves like knowing who's here and making sure that everyone's safe, which honestly I really honor her for, because she's really just trying to keep us safe even though there's not that much danger around us. And another thing is like if we let her out outside, like if she sees like a squirrel or a little bird or something like small game, she will go in. It's like nothing else exists except for the prey. So we have to be really careful with that. Anyway, that's a side tangent. Where was I? I think I was just saying that, yeah, at this point in my internal development, I'm not uncomfortable very often, or at least not like how I used to be. And so when I am uncomfortable, I can notice that tension. And so today I was like feeling really good, but I noticed this mild tension within me. And also it's interesting if you like understand what I mean by this, but you can also notice like where the tension is in your body. For me, this tension was like in like kind of like, how do I say it, right underneath, okay, between my belly button and my breastises, boobs. It's like kind of like where my sternum is. I think that's what it's called, that bone. Now Garrett's interrupting me. I'm recording a podcast.
Oh, Nancy's here.
All right. See? I think this is why I was like, okay, this is like kind of getting interrupted. It kind of speaks to my topic of today's podcast, of feeling like today's not a good day to record a podcast, when like in reality, who cares if I'm getting interrupted? It's life. Anyway, what I was saying was that this tension, it was between around my sternum. So in the chakra system, which is like Asian, it's just the concept of energy centers, which is like an Asian philosophy and spiritual tradition of understanding like the energetic layers of the body. In like the most simplest 7 chakra system, where I'm pointing to is like around my solar plexus. And I'm not going to go deep into like what the solar plexus is about, because if you really care, you can go look it up. And also I just have a lot of resistance. I'm someone I love spiritual identity, and I love being seen as someone who's like very mystical and things like that. But I don't really vibe with the basic, like, spiritual. Remember that meme from a few years ago? It would be like blank starter pack. It's like basically when it's like spirituality starter pack, right? It would be a meme with like crystals and tarot cards and astrology, like basic sun sign astrology and like chakra chart, right? I just don't want to be associated with that. So anyway, again, that was a tangent. But anyway, this tension, I was noticing it around my solar plexus chakra. And so I just sat with it, and after just like observing my thoughts, I sometimes journal, but oftentimes I don't even have to journal. Like I just feel like I just don't feel like journaling because it's like sometimes energy intensive just like writing. So sometimes I'll just like sit and just watch my thoughts. Anyway, I did that and I realized that there was tension because I wanted to record a podcast, but then there was aspects of me that were like, no, you're not allowed to record a podcast. And so I was like, then I thought about it. I was like, okay, let's see what these voices that don't want me to record a podcast have to say. Then I would listen to them, and they were like, at the core of their messaging, it was like, today's a weekend. There's people over. Garrett's parents are here. Like, you can't record a podcast. Like, I guess, this also brings up this thing I was noticing about myself and about my work and my creative work and my creativity and like my YouTube channel and my videos and my writing and my Instagram presence and my blah, blah, like all of that. I realized that for as long as I've had a YouTube channel, which started in 2017, I've kind of had been fragmenting my virtual self with my physical self. So I like very much kept these two things separate. Like I had just the worlds just felt very unintegrated. It was like, this is my virtual world and this is my physical world. And in my virtual world, I have all this community of people where I post things for them and they comment on it and they receive it. And then I have my physical world where I don't really engage that much, or like I'm not very vulnerable in my physical life. Like I'm not as open as I am online to like people that I meet or like hang out with in person. So I was just realized that how much fragmentation there's been in these two aspects of me. And as soon as I realized that, which was a few weeks ago, I've been very mindful and I've been trying to find ways to like integrate the two sections of me, two parts of me. One way I did this is I had two separate Instagram accounts. I had one Instagram, which was like my main one where I did like business related things and where I shared my YouTube videos. And then I had a personal Instagram, and I basically just got rid of the personal one and integrated the people that I was following on the personal one into my main one and just like kind of blended it a little. And that's like one way that I have been reintegrating myself. And and I'm sure there's a few other subtle things that I'm doing as well. But what I'm noticing is that just in the few weeks of me noticing this and like correcting for it, I'm noticing a lot more confidence within myself in person. Like when I speak to new people, or just like I just want to be more social now, and I'm being more expressive in person. I think I was hiding a lot. I think maybe there was a part of me that was ashamed about my creative projects that I share online, because I think when I started my YouTube channel back in 2017, I was creating, like, my videos were very inflammatory towards like people in my life because I was speaking about stuff I was going through with my family. Like it was inflaming the situation in a way. I don't regret it at all, having that YouTube channel and making those YouTube videos and connecting with a lot of the people who had gone through the same thing or are going through the same thing. It really helped me on my own journey. But at the same time, like at that point, I really did feel like I had to keep things separate or just because it didn't mesh well. But now I'm in a very different space with my creative work and the type of things that I do. And it's like I'm at a point where things can, in my in-person life and my virtual life, can integrate very harmoniously. And so that's what I'm focusing on. But yeah, that is what I have for you today, or I guess this week. Thank you so much for listening. I guess moral of the story of this podcast episode is, one, notice where you are giving yourself rules. I guess this is like was also last week's lesson as well. It's like, just notice where you're making things harder for yourself than they need to be. So last week, for example, I had the epiphany that I could just like record a podcast without having to set up a mic and without having to do all these things and jump through all these hoops that I felt like I needed to have a good podcast. And I could just do it the way I wanted to, which was just talking into my phone, lying in bed. And then today's moral on that same thread is like, notice what structures are in your mind about like work versus rest, and see if you can integrate those more. Because realistically now, as I am completely, like, I have full freedom over my schedule and my time, I have like like the way that I structure my work days or my life, like work and play and just like work and just being and existing, it's not very segregated. It's like on Monday I'll work, but then I might also have like a break, and I'm not working for like 6 to 7 hours straight. I break the work hours. Like I might get just as much time done. Like I might actually end up working like 8 hours that day, but it's spread out throughout the day. Like I might do like I like it, just there's no real segregation. And it's so cool. Like it's so cool that that's how my life is right now. And it's so cool that I just, like, I don't know, it feels like a new template of working. And I know it's not really new because I'm sure there's so many of us that are doing this, but I think that the new thing is us accepting this new template as like a sustainable way to be and way to live, and just letting ourselves fully go into it. I think like with this internal struggle of me not wanting to work because it feels like a weekend, that even though I have full freedom, like there's still these like mental constructs that had been like blocking me from really fully moving in sync with how I wanted to, like with the inspiration flows and like that inner structure, or that past structure of having distinct days for work and distinct days for like rest and play, that had been making it hard for me to record a podcast today. But then when I questioned that, I realized, wait, I can still record a podcast. Like I don't have to not do it. That's just like some outdated programming that's like still running in my mind. But yeah, that's it for you. That's it for this week. Thank you for listening. I hope it was fun to listen. As always, I hope it's fun to listen. I hope that you received some cool puzzle pieces for your journey. And yeah, that's it. I love you. Oh. I have one announcement. I also started a Substack because I started identifying my like as being a writer, and I have written a lot over the last few years, but I just never identified with the word, or with the word noun writer. And this week I did. I was like, you know what? I am a writer. I do like writing, and I am a writer. And that enabled me to feel good about setting up a Substack for myself. And yeah, so if you want to subscribe to my Substack, it's called Golden Age Streams. If you want to subscribe to that, check out the show notes, because I will be posting on that. I think I haven't really fully figured out my structure for that yet, but then I don't think I need a structure. I think I just go with the flow on that as well. And yeah, that's it. So 2 things: subscribe to my Substack, and number 2, have a great moment. Whatever moment you're in right now, have a great one. I love you. Bye.